I've been writing a few of these based on quotes found in the book Democracy in America. This will be the latest and, I think, will be the last. Here it is. It is easy to see how, in a society organized along these lines, men's minds are unconsciously led to neglect theory and devote an unparalleled amount of energy to the application of science, or at least on that aspect of theory which is useful in practice. The greatest instance of this would be found, I think, in the life of Albert Einstein. At the end of the 19th century, scientists thought that what we call outer space was filled with a substance they called ether. Waves move through water and waves move through air to create sound. The experts thought that light moved in waves through ether. In 1889, two scientists, Michelson and Morley, designed an experiment using light and mirrors in a very clever way that would demonstrate the existence of this ether. They got a result they did not expect nor understand, one that could not be explained by the existing physical laws. Physicists had their work cut out for them. They had to resolve the problems posed by the Michelson-Morley experiment by coming up with some new theory. In 1905, Albert Einstein was living and working in Bern, Switzerland, a place that might be more accommodating to the theoretical work than anywhere in America. He published 4 papers that year, now known as the Annus Mirabilis, trying to construct a theory compatible with the experiment. The first paper was an exercise in theoretical physics in which Einstein said that light is emitted in discrete amounts, known as quanta, and that these packets have an energy level that varies according to the frequency of the light wave. This became known as the photoelectric effect, the basis for the theory of photoelectricity and a fundamental principle in the theory of quantum mechanics. It earned Einstein a Nobel Prize in 1921, even though there were leading scientists who were still convinced that it was false. The second paper was on vibrating molecules, or Brownian motion. Using the kinetic theory of gases, Einstein wrote that this motion suggested very strongly that atoms were real entities, tiny bits of organized matter existing in the world. So he has discrete packets of energy, light, and tiny packets of matter, atoms. He's rewriting the book of nature. In the third paper, Einstein developed a theory of time, distance, mass, and energy that was consistent with what was known about electromagnetism. The linchpin of this theory was that the speed of light was a fixed constant everywhere, no exceptions, which he called c. He then wrote that he was causing conjecture to rise to the status of a postulate, namely the principle of relativity, which became the special theory of relativity. The fourth paper was entitled, "Does the inertia of a body depend on its energy content?" And it quite thoroughly demonstrated that if you're asking the right questions, you can come up with some monumental insights. Einstein decided that the mass of a body was the measure of its energy content. The energy of a body at rest, E, is equal to its mass, m, times the speed of light, c, squared. If the energy of a body changes by L, which is emitted as radiation, then its mass changes by L over 9 times 10 raised to the 20th power. Years later in America, because of developments in Germany, Einstein was talking with another physicist, Leo Szilard. It was another time and another country, one where theories didn't amount to all that much. Szilard told Einstein that if you took some uranium and set it upright, you could trigger a chain reaction, releasing atomic energy, in effect creating an explosive device, a bomb, one with tremendous, nearly unbelievable power. Einstein could see that this was a distinct possibility. He told Szilard that he had never looked at it like that. Before that moment, it was all pure theory to him. Szilard and Einstein sent a letter to President Roosevelt, urging him to assemble a team of scientists who could develop this atomic weapon. 2 months later, in October of 1939, what would become the Manhattan Project was effectively begun, and the practical application that Americans came up with put an immediate end to the war. But then it led to a weapons race and the construction of many bombs and the rockets to deliver them, causing Albert Einstein to regret that he had ever sent that letter. Because all he had really wanted to do was come up with a theory that would explain the puzzling result of the Michelson-Morley experiment. It was those goddamn practical Americans who would turn it into a bomb.